Here's something else. Okay, today we're continuing the sugya of Mida Keneged Mida. The first person we learned Mida Keneged Mida from was Shimshon. The second person is Avshalom. So we met Avshalom in Masechta Nazir. He was the dugma of the Nazir Olam. He was a Nazir and he's a Nazir forever. But he would cut his hair once a year. As we're going to see, not only would he cut his hair, he would weigh his hair, and he would give the amount of it to the Beis Hamikdash. It wasn't the Beis Hamikdash then, to Kodesh. He was the background of Avshalom and his punishment is very interesting. It seems that David HaMelech had been with an Eshes Shifas Toyar. She was the daughter of Talmai Melech Geshur. She had two children from him. One was Tamar, and one was Avshalom. Tamar was a Tznuah Ma'od, and David had another son, Amnon, who wanted her very much. And Amnon tricked his way into going ahead and being alone with Tamar, and he was Ma'anis Tamar. He raped Tamar. As a result of that, David HaMelech was Geiser on Yichud Penuya, guys. The din of Yichud is only, the rice is only by Eshes Ish. The din of not being in a alone in a room with an unmarried girl, which is it's more than the Rabbanon in nature. It's the Rei Kabbalah was from David HaMelech because of this Maisa. As a result of this Maisa, Avshalom kills Amnon. He kills his half brother. Avshalom runs away as a result, and David's missing him very much. And he comes back, but David still doesn't bring himself to see him. As a result of the Maisa with Bathsheba, when David incorrectly did not go ahead and judge Uriah through the halacha of Mori b'Malchus, but left it up to where people could possibly say that he took Bathsheba, Nasan Navi comes and tells him he's going to be punished for four things. One of the ways is the child that Bathsheba was pregnant and died. It says four things are going to come from your house, and you got a rebellion in your house. And the rebellion in the house was the rebellion of Avshalom. Avshalom rebels, and he desires to be the king. He's followed. His support is none other than Achitophel, who was David's Rebbe and chief advisor. Achitophel was Bathsheba's grandfather. Bathsheba bas Aliyam bas Achitophel, ben Achitophel, and as a result, he held David for being guilty of Eshes Ish. He led a rebellion. And he gives Avshalom advice. There was another person who they asked for advice, Hushai. They listened to Hushai. Achitophel realizes that the rebellion is not going to be successful when they don't listen to him. Achitophel goes home and hangs himself. He's 33 or 34 years old. So the rebellion is doomed to failure. David tells Yoav, his general, do not kill Avshalom. But Yoav had to kill Avshalom because he felt guilty that I think regarding he brought him. I don't remember exactly why he killed somebody, Yoav, and in order to go ahead and substantiate that killing, he had to kill Avshalom. I don't remember exactly clearly, but that's basically what happened. And we're picking it up with the death of Avshalom, and the fact that Avshalom took tremendous pride in his hair is a source of tonight's Gemara, at least the first part of the Gemara. So let's see the Gemara. The Gemara is going to begin on Yud Amid Beis, the first white line. Hanrabanan. Avshalom b'sa'arei marad. Avshalom was married with his hair. Shenemar. Ukavshalom lo'hoye ish yafeh. He was perfect in his midas and his beauty. Ubegalches roishai, and he would cut his hair. He covered a lot. His hair was heavy upon him. Begilchai v'shokal esar roishai mesayim shkolim be'evan hamelech. He would go ahead and weigh it and weigh 200 shkolim based upon the king's stone and Tana Evan Shanshet Feri Vanshet Sipur Shkulimba. It was a currency that was accepted as the standard wherever it went. Very expensive. The Fikach, since he took such pride in his hair, Nitla Besare Mida Keneged Mida, he was suspended in his hair. Shnemar. So again, Avshalom's troops are on the run from David and his men. And what happens was Vayikra Avshalom Lefnei Avdei David, and Avshalom he goes ahead and he came in front of the servants of David. Avshalom Rachav ala Pered, he was riding on a mule. Vayavi aperet tachas shayvecha Allah hagadolah. Came under some big tree, right? It came under some big tree, and vayachzu roishay ba'Allah. His hair got stuck in the tree. His hair, Avshalom was here. Vayachzak roishay ba'Allah vayutan ben shemayim ba'aretz, and he was suspended literally. The parrot kept on going, and he was suspended by his hair from the tree. By parrot shetafta vavar. Shakal safsira. This is the Gemara talking, not the pasuk. Shakal safsira ba'al mifsakei. He took a sword and he wanted to cut his hair to go ahead and be able to descend. And Tanad Rabbi Shmuel, Boisei Shah, Nikva Shol Tachmi Tachtoi, Gehenim opened up underneath him, and he decided it's better to hang around for a little while longer. Right? Better that than the alternative. It says, Vayirgaz HaMelech, it says in Pasuk, Vayirgaz HaMelech, Vayala Aliyas Hashar, Vayefk. And when Yoav went ahead and killed him, we saw that he stole the hearts of 3 people. They threw darts in his heart and they killed him. And when David finds out, David's reaction is, Vayala Aliyas Hashar Vayov Vayef, and he's crying. V'koyamar b'lechtoi, b'ni Avshalom, b'ni Avshalom, mi teimuse ani tachticha Avshalom b'ni b'ni. And he was he said the name 8 times. V'melech loya es panav, v'yizak hamelech kol gadol, b'ni Avshalom, Avshalom b'ni b'ni. Hani Tanaya b'ni lama. Why this 7? Why is he lamenting 7 times? Shiva the aske mishiva miduri gehenim. 7 that elevated him from the 7 levels of Gehenim, which he had descended to. The Idach, and the 8th one, Ikad the army, the Karvya Resha Lagabi Gufa. Again, he had been decapitated and it brought his head back to his body. Ikad the army, the Asil Amal, the Osi came to Olam Haba. Okay, so there's a Taisus over here, a very famous Taisus that we will do. It says Taisus, the Asilom and the Ase, the Kasha Ha'amru B'chelik, it says in Sanhedrin, Bora Masake Mizake Abba, a son can mizaka a father. Once a father is dead, there's a tremendous amount that a son can do for a father. A son can be mizaka a father. Avaloi mizake bara, abaloi mizake bara. But a father can't be mizaka a son. And he brings the pasuk to the Chsiv, Ve'emi yodi matzol ein Avram matzol es Yishmael, la Yitzchak es Esav, aval ben matzol es Av, kigon Yashiyahu, shleimanu es Amen. Anyway, the bottom line is, so if you're telling me that only a son can be mizaka a father, how's it possible that David could be mizaka his son Avshalom? So v'yesh leimar, shend Avshalom natal es shaloi b'olam hazeh. Avshalom took his olam hazeh. Shenerag b'misa mishuna. As a result of dying b'misa mishuna, he was paid back. So therefore, hoidulot tefillas of it, right? Then the tefillah would help. In other words, since he got his kapara through this death, the tefillah would help. I guess Taisus is saying, when do we say that a father can't be mizaka son? That's dafkavan al yidei tefillah. If it's not al yidei tefillah, then it won't help. And he brings dumya the vayakam damar hasam shahaya koisaval golgalta yisais. He wrote on oid acheres v'nifri imenu la'acham isa leimanu esay oid avshalom le'ovid abayis kachavim. It seems to be that that the only one that a father cannot help the son was did avoid the zara, and Avshalom did not do avoid the zara. Inami matzal meima hodama abba mizaka bara. That a father can't be mizaka a son. Hainu mishum kivud av ein moinin l'noisay im rishayim b'lei tefillah alal tefillah ma'ila but David espalal alav shalom. Right. That we say a mizaka brok is hainu mishum kivud av is because of the kavod of the father, and but tefillah of a father can help for a son. In other words, without tefillah it can't help. So again, his first answer that if the son is punished in this world, then the father can be mizakim to the next world. The second one was what? Is when the son doesn't do avodah zarah. And the third one is tefillah can help even regardless. There's a Marsha. Marsha says the following. What caused Avshalom to rebel? It was David. It was Nasan told David, because of your Maisa with Bathsheba not having judged Uriah, you're going to be punished 4 times. One of the times you're going to be punished is with a rebellion of his son. Make him lo rav mesecha. I'm going to cause a raw to come from your house, as the lashon of the Navi. David was responsible for the rebellion. When do we say what a father can't be mizaka's son? Is what the son does has nothing whatsoever to do with the father. But in an instance where the father's actions directly go ahead and impact upon the son, then we say the father could go ahead and help. So over here, in this case, where the rebellion was a result of David's action with Bathsheba, the Mela says the Marsha, a big Yesod, I want that you can help. So we have 4 drachim how to answer, either because that tefillah of a father could help, or because only when you don't do avodah zarah, or because of olam hazeh in this world. Once you get your kapar, once you get punished in this world, I don't know if you can help in the next world. And says the Marsha, uniquely different. When is that? It's only the son's actions had nothing to do with the father. If the son's actions had to do with the father directly, then in fact the son, the tefillah of the father could help the son. Very, very geschmack. Okay, says the Gemara. It says Vashalom lokach v'yatziv loy b'chayav. Avshalom had set up in his lifetime, fellas, a matzeva called Yad Avshalom. He's not buried there. Avshalom was buried underneath the Gal Avonim in the forest. But Yad Avshalom is to this day is still standing. It's in the base of Har Zeisim. As a matter of fact, Rav Chaim Shmulevitz used to go there every Erev Rosh Hashanah or every Yom Kippur to daven. He would go there into the kever of the Or Chaim. So they once asked him, Bishleim of the kever of the Or Chaim. I know he was a tzaddik, but why'd you go to the kever of Avshalom? So he said, he quoted this Gemara that Oy Avshalom b'ni, Oy Avshalom b'ni. We see the impact that the Rachmanis of a father can have upon a son. That it either brought his corpse together or brought him to Olam Haba. So therefore, Rav Chaim, in his unbelievable sensitivity, Avshalom, that our father in Shemayim, as we approach the Yom Adin, should have Rachmanis on us. A beautiful parallel that Rav Chaim Shmulevitz Hatzal, the Mir Rosh Hashiva, extrapolated from this Gemara. So, Avshalom lokach v'yasale b'chayav. My lokach, what did he take? Amrei Shlakish to lokach mekach ro la'atzma. He took some bad advice. Es matzeves asher be'emek hamelech. It says he set up a matzeva be'emek hamelech, literally in the valley of the king. So Amar Pnei Bar Papa be'etza muka shel malka shel olam. It had the depth of the etza of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's the melech of the olam. Look at the bottom Rashi, guys. Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu shu melech olam shegozra al David came b'maisa bat sheva. So in other words, this is what I just shared with you, that the Eitz Hamukah was over here. His rebellion was as a result of the Maisa of David with Bathsheba. As it says, Hine Dechsiv, as I told you, Amid Aleph, Hine Mekim Alecha Rav Beisecha. David's told, behold, Ra is going to come up from your house. And who was that Ra? It was Avshalom. A similar thing, it says that when something had to do with Hashem's Machshava, it says, Veishlacheu Be'emek Chevron. They sent Yosef from the valley of Chevron. Amrav Klin Bar Papa, the Eitzah Muka Shaloisa Tzadik Shekova b'Chevron, the Eitzah of the one who's buried in Chevron. The Chsiv Yoda Teda Kiegizach Veres Lahem. Avram Avinu was told in Breshis, Perek Tesvav, that Klal Yisrael will be in a land that doesn't belong to them. Correct? Of course, that was the land of Mitzrayim. How do we get down to Mitzrayim? But that Yosef was sold in Chevron. As a result, right? Actually, the one who's built in Chevron, Avram Avinu, Yosef was sold in order to what? That to facilitate the bris bein habesarim, that Bnei Yisrael will be complete the Yadoat Kededa Yezer Asperes Lohem. Again, depth of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's actions. So Avshalom, why did he go ahead and make this Yad Avshalom in his lifetime? Kiyomer Ainli Ben. He said, I have no children. Fred Gemara V'Lahavli B'nei. He didn't have any children. V'Ksiv V'Yivodu Avshalom Sholish Bonim B'Asachas. He had 3 sons and 1 daughter. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Avdimi Shlachoyle Ben Hagen LaMalchus. He didn't have a Ben. He had children, but he didn't have one is right to Malchus. Of Kistal Amagimir, we have Messiah that Kol Asart Shal Chaver. Anyone who burns the field of his friend, Eina Maniach Ben Liyarsha will not leave his son to inherit him. When he wanted to go ahead and get Yoav's attention to make peace between him and David, he burnt down Yoav's field. The Chsiv Vayomer Lavodav Ru Chelkas Yoav Al Yadi V'Lo Yisham. So Irim, L'chuv, Etzisua, Be'esh, go light it up. Etzisua, the Avshalom, Esachelik, Be'esh, they lit up his Chelka Be'esh. So as a result, his children, they didn't live long enough to go ahead and inherit, and therefore he set up Yad Avshalom. Okay, the Mishnah had said, when we gave examples of Mida Keneged Mida, of negative by Shimshon and by Avshalom, we said by positive, by Miriam, like what happened, she watched Moshe, and as a result of watching Moshe, she, for 7 days, they waited for her. 7 days they waited for her. So it's a big question, right? she waited for Moshe for 1 hour before Basa came down, and they had to wait 7 days for her to Saras to be cured. Midami says the Gemara right away. How can you compare the two? Hasam Kadeshaita by Moshe, she only waited 1 hour in the watching Moshe in the bull rushes. Hacha Shiva Yomim over here, Klal Yisrael had to wait 7 days for her. Rabbi Ema Uleinina Tava ain't the case. So it means it's not exactly so. By Mida Keneged Mida by a Tava is not exactly so, because one was 1 and 1 was 7. So that was a bias answer. Rabbi said no. It says, don't say it's not that way, but it's exactly that way. In other words, so the kasha is a good kasha. No, it's Mida Keneged Mida by Shimshim, Mida Keneged Mida by Shalom, Mida Keneged Mida by Yiriam, but there was 1, there was 7. What's the answer? It's Mida Keneged Mida, but the Mida of Hatava, Kodesh Baruch Hu, is much more than the Mida of Peronius. That you'll pay back Mida Keneged Mida. However, regarding Kodesh Baruch Hu paying back Mida Keneged Mida, when it comes to paying back Mida Taiva, it's going to pay you back much more than Mida Peronius. Okay? And that's what we saw, that it's the ratio of 1 to 7. Now you can't make this up, but we're going to see mamish the whole Indian of Yitzias Mitzrayim, the whole Gemara that you're familiar with is today's Gemara. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You know, the Cheshbon of Kodesh Baruch Hu that the Daf is holding on Tes. What is it? Yud Zayin, Tes Zayin, Yud Zayin. It's the 4th day, so it's Tes Zayin, Tes Zayin. You test. But she was watching him from afar. Rabbi Yitzchak, pasuk zeh kula al shem shkinin nemar. The pasuk v'teyaser v'sam merachok. It said about a Kodesh Baruch Hu. It says v'tesatzev, she stood. Yechsev v'yavay Hashem v'yisatzev. A Kodesh Baruch Hu came and he stood. It says by Shmuel. When he called it, when he revealed himself to Shmuel the first time. Achaisai. It says his sister. It's being the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Yechsev emel chachma achaisiyat. Say the chachma is the Kodesh Baruch Hu's chachma. You're my sister. Merachok. Yechsev merachok Hashem nearly. Hashem appeared to me from afar. So the rachok to play on the words of Kodesh Baruch Hu. The Deya, to know what's going on with Moshe, the Chsiv, Keldeus, who Kodesh Baruch Hu is a Keldeus. Ma'am, what's going to be with him? The Chsiv, Ma Hashem Elkecha Shalom Melech, what's Hashem asking for you? Ma'i Yasa, what should be done? The Chsiv, Kel Yasa Hashem Elokim Dava. So again, loy to him, the Chsiv, Vayikra loy Hashem Shalom. So you see, each one of these words is what connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? They're speaking about the Shechina. Okay, now, we're going through Mamish the Psukim that have to do with Mitzrayim. It makes sense for me to go ahead and get a chumash and read the psukim inside, even though you know. Vayakam el chadash as Mitzrayim, ashal yadas Yosef, a new king came on Mitzrayim, Benan Yosef. Vayom elam mahine am bnei Yisrael rav otzim imenu. Bnei Yisrael are more and stronger than us. Havan eschak maloi. Let's come together and be wise concerning him. Pen yerbel, lest he increase. V'haya kisekredel milchama. We'll go to war. V'noistiv kamu al sanenu will join our enemy. V'nilcham banu v'olim min haaretz. And literally, he'll war with us and he'll throw us out of the land. I assume we'll love Sari Misim, and he placed upon us Sari Misim, to go ahead and pain them in their burden. By even our Mislas, the Paro as pieces as Ramses. No Lashon of Rabbin, Lashon of future, Asid. By Yakutsu b'nei b'nei Yisrael, and they've discussed it b'nei b'nei Yisrael. By Vidu Mitzrayim as b'nei Yisrael b'farach, they made us work b'farach. By Yimoros Chayim, they embittered our lives. By Avoid the Kasha, the Chomer Bilvanim with bricks, with cement. V'cholaboy the Basada is Cholaboy Dasam Sha'avdu b'Mefarach. By Yoma Hamelach Mitzrayim Lamayaldus Sevriyos, the Jewish midwives, Asher Shem Achas Shifra b'Shem Hashem is Pua. By Yoma B'Yelchem as Avriyos, when you go ahead and birth the Jewish women, U'yistem Alav Noyim, you'll see them by the birthing stone. And Cain and Ben-Hu by Mita Maisayev, a boy kill him. Then Basi v'choya, the Bas should live. But Terenim Yelavis says Elokim, they feared Hashem. L'yasu kashadiba aleim Melch Mitzrayim v'techenu seyeladim. So it's just amazing. And they called it. They called them. They said that Riyos and Al-Hios ki chayas heina, and Kodesh Baruch Hu did very good by them. We all know this at the beginning of the parsha. Just amazing that this is on this day that we're learning this is so incredible. And this is all the Rashis that people are familiar with. I brought from this very, very famous Agadata. Okay, what does it say over here? So, Vayokam Melech Chadash. It says Melech Chadash came. Rabbi Shmuel Chadam Chadash Mamish. One says he was Mamish, a new king. Charamesh and Eschashuk Zeirosav is the same king, and he came up with new Gezeris. Madam and the Chodesh Mamish, one says he was the new king. Dechsev Chodesh, he said new. Uman Dechsev Shen Eschashuk Zeirosav, the one said that what? He renewed his decrees. The Loik Siv Vayomas Vayimlech. It doesn't say that what? Vayomas, he died, Vayimlech, and he reigned. Asher Lo Yodes Yosef, he didn't know Yosef. The Havi Domi command Lo the cloud. It seemed like he didn't know Yosef because he had all these he made all these very, very difficult decrees. It's like he didn't know what? He didn't know Yosef at all. Vayom Elama, Hine Am B'nai Yisrael. He said, behold, B'nai Yisrael, they're going to come together, they're going to go ahead and join our enemies. Hana, who his Chil Be'etzah Tchila. He was the one who joined, right, the suggestion of acting against Klal Yisrael. Lefikach Lacha Tchila, therefore, by Sfardim, he was Paro was stricken first. Who is Chil Be'etzah Tchila D'chsev Vayom Elamai, as he said to his nation. Lefikach Lacha Tchila, it says by the Sradeya, D'chsev Ubecha, in you, Uba'amcha, and in your people, L'chol. So you see where the Sfardim hit first. They hit first what? In Paro. Havan Eschach Maloi. Come, let us go ahead and act b'chachma concerning Loi means him or it. Read the Gemara, grammatically it's not correct. Amrav Chama Bar Chanina, Bo v'necham l'Moshiach Shel Yisrael. Paro wanted to act against the what? Against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. B'man nidunein. What can we go ahead and act out according to Bnei Yisrael that we don't have to worry that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take revenge on us? Nidunein b'eish. If you say the judgment with fire, ksiv, ki hine Hashem b'eish yavai. Hashem will go ahead and he'll come in fire. Now, the Bnei Yehoyada says, not that they knew this pasuk, they knew that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is he measures with fire. In other words, they weren't such lamdonim, but they knew that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, fire is not the way to go. Uksiv ki b'eish Hashem nishpat, and it also says, for Hashem, he'll go ahead and he'll judge with fire. B'cherev, if we use the sword, ksiv, u'b'charbo eskol basar. So therefore, what? Eddie's sword will be against all of us. Elaboy v'nidunim b'mayim. What about water? She'kvar nishba HaKadosh Baruch Hu she'ena mevi ma b'loylam. So listen, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they ahead. They're not going to bring a mabel to the world, so we're safe. We're safe. She'namar kimei noach so sleep. Right. So therefore, they decided that it's going to be in water, thinking they're saved. Hainin Yoy made it know shall kol oilam kulu eina mevi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu won't destroy the whole world of water. Aval uma achas umevi, one uma, no problem. And that's exactly what happened. The Mitzrayim were drowned in the Yam. Inami hu eina mevi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wouldn't go ahead and bring upon a whole nation. Aval hein boyim v'noiflim b'soichai, that he would bring it upon them, but they would fall into it. V'cheinu oimer u'Mitzrayim nosim l'grosai. In Mitzrayim, they were running towards it. They're running towards the water. I find it fascinating that people always make the corollary between the regime of the Nazis, Yamach Shemam, and Mitzrayim. Havan Eschach Malo, you see from this Gemara that they knew a lot about Judaism. They knew that the God is someone that what? With water, you thought you were safe. They found Hitler in his writings. He found that he had to kill the Talmud Yuden. He had to kill the Jews of Lithuania. The first place he attacked the Jews was Lithuania. He conquered Poland first, but he did not set up the concentration camps in Poland until the Wannsee Conference. Lithuania, where in his mind the Talmud Yuden reigned, that he destroyed through the Einsteins group and the forces of machine gunners that would go around killing them with a machine gun close to 2 million people to death. He understood who to kill. When he came to Vilna, my Rebbe, they rounded up all the Talmidei Chachamim. They rounded up. They had a list of Dayanim. They didn't kill indiscriminately. They killed with a cheshbon. You see, mamish, the same thing. The goyim who really hate the Jews, they do it b'cheshbon. And just as Paro did it b'cheshbon, thinking he'd be safe and safe from water, so the Nazis did as well. We should be aware of that. It wasn't just haphazard, just hatred of the Jews. They had a system how they wanted to exterminate us, and they were not successful. Rabbi Eliezer, my dichsiv, ki bedovar asher zodu aleihem. The thing that they schemed against us. Now, the word zodu could also mean is cook. Because in the kedera that the Mitzrayim cooked up to kill us with water. They wanted to go ahead and drown all the boys. What happened? They were cooked in the water. They ended up in the water. Again, tremendous mida keneged mida in Agamara. Where do you know that? My mashma the hayzadu lishna the kederahu. Ichsid vayosef Yaakov nazid. Yaakov went ahead and he cooked a cooking. He went ahead by when Avram died, he was making mourning, and Esav came along and he wanted some lentils. That's what happened over there. Says the Gemara, Amrav Chia bar Ava Amrav Simoy, Shloisha Hoyu Boise. It's a very famous Gemara. There were three people part of the eights of the Paro what to do by this conference. Bilam v'Iyov v'Yisrael. Bilam, Iyov, and Yisrael. Bilam Shayoyetz Nerag. Bilam who told Paro to throw the Jewish children, boys into the water. He got killed. Iyov Sheshasak. Iyov who didn't say anything, right? Nidan be Yisurim. He had terrible Yisurim. Yisro Shebarach Sotah b'nei banav sheyeshu b'lishkas hagazos. Yisro who ran away from this vad of Tumah was zoicha to have his, this according to Shem Shmuel, he ran away from this vad of Tumah. He was zoicha to have his descendants be sitting in the Beis Hamikdash b'kedusha in the lishkas hagazos. Right? Yisro Shebarach Zocha b'nei banav sheyeshu b'lishkas hagazos shenemar u'mishpacha soifrim yoshvei yabetz terasayim shemasayim Shechosim, Hema Hakinim, Aboyim, Machmas, Avi Beis Yavetz. Now the whole thing is for one word, for the word Kinim. Ubeksiv, Ubenekeni, Chashem Moshe. You see that Benekeni, they went up to live in Yericho. You see the Canaan with descendants of Moshe. So the very, very famous word from Chaim Shmulevitz in Sichas Musa, who apparently got the worst punishment here? I would say Iyov. I would say Iyov. Yet it seems that Yisro ran away, Iyov was Shasak, and what's his name died. Bilam died. So why was Iyov punished worse than Bilam? Why was he punished with Tel B'Yisurim? So Chaim says you can derive from here that whatever life is, no matter what quality of life you have, it's better than death. How can a person complain? The Gemara in Kedushin, pay dollar, I think it is. How can a person complain when I give him life? If you give him life, a person has life. You know, fellas, there are 6 mitzvahs tamidias that you can think about all the time. As long as you're alive, there's unbelievable things you can do. I saw a person who suffers from Lou Gehrig's disease, make a siyam hashas. He has no movement whatsoever. He can blink his eyes. They have machines that they're able to communicate with them. He made a siyam hashas. I was blown away. So it's an example of the person undergoing terrible yisurim, but nonetheless, if you have life, there's unbelievable things you can do. So it's true. On the surface, you might think that the one who was punished the most was Iyov. If it's not true, Bilam was killed, was punished the most. Because why? Because he had life. Okay. V'nilcham banu v'alo min haaretz. We're worried that what? They're going to go ahead and they're going to fight us and go off from the land. It says, V'alinu mi boy, Parish Yosef, and we'll go off from the land. They'll throw us out. In other words, he went ahead and he didn't want to say it about himself, so he told him somebody else. He made it totally that they're going to go out of the land, but really he was going to go out of the land. By Yasimulov, sorry, Misim, the pasuk says that sorry, Misim actually tells us these are people placed upon us for oppression. Yasimulov, sorry, Misim, Aleimi Boilim. It might mean sorry, Allah on him. Aleim, it should say. The Tan Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, he bought a mold that they would make bricks in. But Toloi Paro B'Tzavaro, Paro would hang it on his neck. Any person from Klal Yisrael would say, "Oh, I can't do physical work. I'm a white collar guy. I'm not a blue collar guy." They would say, "What? Go, Paro, you're more of this than Paro. Look at Paro. He's got around his neck a mold. He's ready to go ahead and make bricks. You can make bricks." Sorry, Misim. Davash and Mesim that they caused what they force. Again, all these psukim in order to go ahead and pain them in their burdens. But it should have said to burden them. It means for Paro to go ahead that Paro should get afflicted from the burdens of Klal Yisrael. Like you said before, he doesn't want to put it on himself. But even already misplaced the Paro, they built storage cities for Paro. Rabbi Shmuel Chadama Shemesachnois es Balehem, that people who built these, they endangered. There's a reason why workman's comp is so expensive around me, right? That imagine building the pyramids, building these structures, and what was involved. So the Ari Miskanois, the Lashon of Sakana. The ones that they made they're so elaborate, they make people poor. Anyone who goes ahead and is involved in construction becomes poor. It depends. Again, it depends. It depends. People who, right? I guess it depends. Okay, Rabbi, as Pisa says Ramses, Pisam in Ramses, Rabbi Shmuel, Chanama, Pisam Shema. The name was Pisam, below Nikra Shemai Ramses. So it was one city. Rishain Misraises. It would Misraises, it would break a little bit at a time. In other words, this is really the worst avoida, because you do the avoida and it would not be successful. And each you do it more and more, it would break again and again. That's one pshat, right? Ramses Shema, name is Ramses. Below Nikra Shemai Pisaim, Rishain Pitahaim Bala. Right? It would swallow up one bit at a time. It would sink into the ground a little bit at a time. So peace to Haim. Lashon P, it's P to Haim, settle into the Haim. And just as they would go ahead and they would be ma'ana them, they would increase and they would spread out. Lashon of what? A future. Frag Gemara, should say present tense. Right? What do you say future? You think you're going to decrease the population. In fact, you're going to go ahead and increase the population. You think you're going to decrease the population. In fact, you're going to increase the population. Okay. Vayikutsu b'nei Yisrael, Vayikutsu b'nei b'nei Yisrael, and they were disgusted because of b'nei Yisrael. Malamed shahayadoimim b'neiim kikaitzim, that b'nei Yisrael were like thorns in the eyes of the Egyptians. The Egyptian views the Jews like the Nazis viewed the Jews as rats. They viewed them as kaitzim. So I heard a beautiful pshat from Sully Bornstein mentioned in the Paris Moshe. He quoted some Seifa, beautiful pshat, guys. This is what he said. He said this was a tremendous hatava that Hashem did to Klal Yisrael. How is it possible we were in Mitzrayim all those years and there was only one instance of where an Egyptian violated a Jewish woman? It doesn't make any sense. There's so many examples of violation throughout history where you have an oppressor, they would have violated the oppressed. Certainly in the Nazis violated many Jewish women. Many Jewish women were violated by the Nazis. And anytime you have how many slaves were violated during the times of slavery in the United States? How's it possible in Mitzrayim? That only one instance? Right? And the answer is by Yakutsu, B'nai Yisrael. In other words, since the Egyptians were disgusted by B'nai Yisrael, they were disgusted by the Jewish woman too. And since they were disgusted by the Jewish woman, as a result, they didn't violate them. Some cite them. So it's a hatafa. It's a hatafa that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did to ensure that the Jewish woman would not be violated. Fascinating. I found it fascinating. Okay. The Vayavnu Mitzrinas B'nai Yisrael b'farach. They went ahead and Amid Beis. They went ahead and what does b'farach mean? They began with perach. They began with a soft mouth. In other words, look at the top Rashi. Mashkin b'dvarim u'b'schar asher gilam la'avoda. They paid them. They gave them easy work to do, white collar stuff, and they paid them money. And eventually, of course, it turned into bondage. But initially, b'farach was perach. This is the first time. And Rabbi Shmuel Nachmani Yomano, it means b'pricha. Rashi says b'shivin guf. Right? They'll go ahead and mamish literally break the body. It was very, 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 very. Avoid this perach very difficult. They embittered their lives with working them hard, making mud, making cement, and making bricks. Amarava, B'tchila, B'chayim, B'Rovenim, first Chayim Rovenim, B'Sayf, B'Chol Avodah B'Sodeh, which is very difficult, working in the fields. As Kol Avoidasam Asher Avdu Ben B'Farech, and the B'Farech over here already cannot mean Perach. Here it means B'Farech. Even though the first one could be Perach, this already is once they had us in bondage, they had us. Amar Rav Shmuel ben Nachmani Rabbi Yonasan Shahayu Machlifim Melechas Anoshim L'Noshim. They had men doing women's work, or Melechas Noshim L'Noshim. They had women doing men's work. That Ulamad Amar Nami Hasan Perach. That was the first one. Hachavadei B'Pricha. Over here for sure, what it meant. B'Pricha, he would go ahead right and mean he worked on what exceedingly hard. Darsha Bavira. The schar nashim tzidkonios shahoya b'yisa adar. In the schar of those nashim, it was in that generation. Now, the pasuk said something fascinating. The pasuk said, he told them Yalgois. What did he tell them? In ben hu v'amitem oisai. If it's a ben, then kill him. Then bashi v'choya. So the Svarim HaKadoshim, that's what Sully Bornstein used the Lashon. The Svarim HaKadoshim, that means the Chassidish Svarim, say the following. You see from here, when he said only kill the boys, he did not have control over the girls. It says, V'mbasi v'choya, you have to let it live, because he could not be goyzer what? He cannot be goyzer on the females, because the females were beyond his jurisdiction. Memela, that gave them tremendous freedom to do what they did, as we're going to see. The Nashim Tzidkonios, how they acted, if they were in bondage, how could they go ahead and be so free doing what they did? It always bothered me.
Well, we just said that the women did what the men did. The women, we just finished saying that the women did what the men's job. So they do earn some type of bond.
So it's a kasha. It's a kasha on that pshat. It's a kasha on that pshat. I agree, it's a very good kasha. But the bottom line is, he wants to say that what happened over here, we see that if they were always working the men's jobs, we wouldn't explain the next Gemara. It's a kasha from one piece of the Gemara and the other piece of the Gemara. More so than on the Sefer. How can you have the Nashim Tzidkonios acting shragi as they can do right now? I mean, you just said they're going to work hard. It's really not a kasha on that pshat. It's really a kasha on the Gemara and the Gemara, which I don't have an answer to. It's a very good kasha. So what does it say over here? What happened? Listen what happens. Darash of Avira. The Schar Nashim Tzidkonios, we all know this. We were redeemed. When the woman would go ahead to be shy of water, they would have in the katana, they would have small fish. They would go ahead, what? Half water, half fish. They would go ahead, they have 2 pots on the stove, and one they would heat up water, they would make fish. The Sotah would take it to the husbands in the field. They would bathe their husbands and they would go ahead and anoint them. They would give them to drink, they would give them the fish. And there were like places there that were like areas that were private, and they would live together. When the pasuk says, "In Tishkuin bein Shevatayim," like the pasuk says. The pasuk says, guys, in Tehillim Samachay, and Tishkuin bein Shvatayim, if you live between the Shvatayim, Kanfei Yoina Nechlu v'Kesef, the wings of doves will be covered with Kesef, Ve'Seha Yerachri Choretz, they'll be with gold. Okay, so what happened? The schar Tishkuin bein Shvatayim, the schar that they live with them, Zochi Yisrael Bisus Mitzrayim, because the second part of the pasuk says, Shnemar Kanfei Yoina Nechlu v'Kesef. It speaks about the tremendous riches that they took out of Mitzrayim. The Kamishinis Arbois, they got pregnant. Boys, the Batam, they would come home. The Kamishim Gias Man Meldeim, when it came time to go ahead and give birth, Holchus for Yoldis Besada Tachas at the Puch, they would go underneath the apple trees. Shnema Tachas at the Puch, or Articha underneath the chapel trees I've aroused you. Kodesh Baruch Hu Shalech Mishem Mishmei Morim. Kodesh Baruch Hu would go ahead and he would send from Shemayim, Mishem and Naker. Son, Amalachim would go ahead and take care of these babies. It seems the babies, you had to strengthen out in the limbs when they're born. Like a midwife who straightens out the limbs of a child when they're born. Shnemar, right? And these malachim, they would go ahead, they would get have two stones. Echad shel shemen, one was of oil, the echad shel dvash, one was honey. Shnemar vayinikeu dvash misel v'sham, and he was able to go ahead and they would nurse from honey from one stone and oil from another one. The Kevin Akirim behem Mitzrayim. Once the Mitzrayim realized that the babies were being born, they would come to kill them. When Aslam Nes, Venivla Bekarka Nes happened, they would be buried in the ground. Mavin Shvarim Mechoshen Al Gabim, the Mitzrayim still try to kill them by plowing with oxen over them. Shnemar Al Gabi Choshu Choshem, on my back they would plow. Lach Shalachim, after the Mitzrayim went away, Vatzuvsin V'yotzin, case of a Sotah. The babies would come out like the grass of the field. Shnemar Revava Kitsemach Hasodan Saticha, right? And that they grew. The Kemishem Magdilin Boyin Adorim Levatayim. They would mamish come home. Shenemar Vatarbi Vatigli Vatavoyi Ba'ade Adiyim. Ade Adiyim usually means type of jewelry. Al Tikri Ba'ade Adiyim. Don't read it as jewelry. El Be'edrei Adorim, read it as flax. They would come home. Ushenigla Kodesh Baruch Hu Al Yom, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu revealed himself al Yom. Hemikiru Tchil. These babies recognize the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Shenemar Zek Heli Vanveyu. This is my God, and I'll go ahead. And Anvehu Zeh, because they had seen him before when he went ahead and he saved them. He went ahead and he saved them. And that's Pshat, guys. When it says Vatimole ha'aretz a son, Vatimole, it says when we increase Vatimole ha'aretz a son, literally, since the ground was Mevatzve's children, Vatimole ha'aretz, the land literally was full of Yidden. Vayom Melech Mitzrayim Lamiyalus Ivriyos, Shifra and Pua, right? Rabbi Shmuel, Chanoma Isha Bita was a woman and a daughter of Chanoma. Kalev Chamusah was a woman and a daughter-in-law. Mandam Isha Bita is Yocheved and Miriam. That Yoledas was Yocheved and Miriam. Mandam Kalev Chamusah, it's Yocheved and Elisheva. It was Yocheved Nemat and Elisheva. Tanya Kamandam Isha Bita, right? It says what the Tanya Shifra Zu Yocheved. Shifra is Yocheved. Malam Nikra Shema Shifra is Shem Mishafer says Avlad. She would straighten out the limbs of the child. The Racha Shifra Shepar Baravu Yisrael B'Yamecha, lashon of Sheparu, that they increased in the days. Pua is Miriam is Miriam. V'lam Nikrish my Pua Barshigol Pua. Shaisa Pua Levlod. She would coo to make the child stop crying. The Racha Pua Shaisa Poi Baruch Hakodesh. She screamed out Poi Baruch Hakodesh. V'Yimeres Asida Imi Shetelid Ben Shemashiach Yisrael. So I've written over here in the side of my Gemara a pshat from the Ari guys. Listen to Ari's pshat. In Mitzrayim, they were giving birth Shisha B'Kerem Echad. They were giving birth 6 children at a time. 6 children at a time. From the time of historically Adam Arishan after the Ched of Beit Sadas, he was Parish Me'ishtei 130 years. So for 130 years there was not people being born in the world. There was not being Mekayin, yes, but from Adam and Chava there weren't any people being born. The Shisha B'Kerem Echad Mitzrayim says that Ari, with the amount of children that would have been born had Adam not separated from his wife for 130 years. And the remes is that Yocheved gave birth to Moshe at 130. Moshe was the person who was born at 130, that he was born without any Chevlei Leda, just as these Shisim B'Kerem Echad without Chevlei Leda, because the Chet of Adam Arishan, guys. The Chet of Adam Arishan, right? She separated, and so these were a ticket for the Chet of Adam Arishan, and mainly they were born without the klal of Chava that you can have pain in childbirth, and that's the 130. That's the numerical 130 that it stopped at this time when Yocheved was 130 years old, and that's why it wasn't that they famous question: why did they make such a big deal that Sarah gave birth at 90 if Yocheved gave birth at 130? And the answer is, Sarah was unique. There weren't nisim happening, but in Mitzrayim, where every person was giving birth to sextuplets, right? Among that, right, it was Nivla that naced that such an older woman could possibly give birth. That's so state in Ramban. Okay, Vayoma b'Yalchim is every he said that he wanted them to live. He wanted them to kill him, and they didn't. He said when you see them alav noyim, and they're giving birth alav noyim, I chased the birthing stone. Gemara has 2 pshatim. I have noyim. Reb Chanan simin gadol masal lehem. Gave a tremendous simon to them. He gave a simon. How to know the woman's going to give birth? Amalehem, b'shosh shekaras leileit. When a woman goes ahead and kneels to give birth, yirekasaha, her thighs mitztanenes ka'avonim. They become cold like avonim. So that's when you see them al abonim, it's referring to the coldness of the thighs. So you know when they're giving birth to go ahead and kill the child. This the army k'dichsiv, the Ered Beis Hayotzer b'ni oisem malacha alav noyim. I went to the house of the potter and he was working. Ancient potters, guys, think about it. They're sitting with the legs crossed and the pot in between with the wheels spinning around, right? Afisha, so to a woman, yarach mikan v'vlad be'emsa, and the vlad is in the middle. And Cain hu v'amitem oisai. If it's the son, you should kill him. Rav Chanina siman gadol masal lehem bein panav lamata. Right? It says, how would you know it's a son? If the child is born with the face down, it's a boy. Bas pinel l'mayla. If the baby is born with the face up, then it's going to be a girl. Derech kashmish. They fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lahemi boile. It says that what they spoke to Alehem on them. It said to them, right? So not Alehem. When it says that what he spoke Alehem to them, he wanted to be Taiveim to do an Avaravera of Znus, and Paro wanted to go ahead and he wanted that he'll do Znus with them and they'll listen to him, they'll love him, but they weren't taking any part of it. But the Chenes they kept them alive. Not only to keep them alive, and they provided what? They provided food and water for them. But Tamar Hamayadis El Paro, Kiloi Kanoshim, the Jewish women, they're not like what? They're not like the Egyptian women. Ki choyes heina. My choyes. Now choyes can be touched one of two ways. It can be touched as what? As midwife. It can be touched as choyes as what? As a chaya. I mean, just because they're midwives, wouldn't another midwife be necessary? They can't give birth to their own child. They need another midwife. This umma is compared to a chaya. Yehuda gur aryeh, it's like a lion. Dan nachash is like a snake. Naphtali elashtuch is like a female deer. Yisachar agorim Yisachar is like a donkey. Yosef b'chashar. Yamin seiv yitrof, he's like a what? He's like a wolf. The ones that Yaakov Avinu wrote about it says they right, but the ones that are not compared to it. But like Ksiv, it says Ma imchal levia bein aroyos revatza. Your mother was like a lioness among the lions. So you see, all Klal Yisrael is what is compared to what is compared to what is compared to a lion. So that I saw a very nice shot over here. I have Ki hoya em kol choy. Chava was called Chava, Ki hoya em kol choy. So she should have been called Chaya. She should have been called Chaya. So the Kliyaka la Torah says she was called Chava to allude to the word chivya, which is Aramaic for snake. Uncle is taichas nachash is chivya. So she did the ma'aseh chivya. But over here, it'd be beautiful that she was called Chaya is allusion to kichoyas heina. That Jewish women are kichoyas, they can give birth like choyas, and therefore the name was ala asid. They were called choya. That was the name for the future. Now, what was the schar for what? For letting them live? What did these bottom? That from them came bate kahuna levia. The charama bate malchus. Mandam bate kahuna levia. We're speaking about Aaron and Moshe. Mandam bate malchus. That we have to who's the malchus? David nami Miriam kasa. David Melech is the descendant of Miriam. But we'll see more about this tomorrow. But let's just begin now. The Siv, Thomas Azuva died. And Kalev took a wife named Ephras. But Schor, and she gave birth to Ephras. Gave birth to a son Chor, which was Miriam. So the Lord Ephrat and Ephrasi is one and the same. So we go ahead and we can see that David was descended from Miriam. Bes Hashem, we'll pick it up here tomorrow. Thank you everyone for listening. Shagi, very good question. I'll look into it.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
The